Hello, Sergeant Bacon here, Sergeant Porcupine, Kevin Bacon, from my other channel. This is my second channel. I'm kind of laughing because I just made a great big long video, but it wasn't. It wasn't. I just took a picture of myself and then talked to the picture. I must have had a good discussion with myself. It was about 8 minutes long. Anyway, this is my second channel. I got it, quite frankly, by accident. When I set up my cell phone, it's an Android, so it has a Google system on it, and it wanted to set up a YouTube account, and so I did. And this is what I set up for my YouTube account. And I've had it for quite some time, but I never used it. And then all of a sudden, I made a video with my phone thinking that I was sending it over to my KB Bacon channel. Indeed, it went here. So I guess the cat's out of the bag, so we might as well put this thing to use. Open for suggestions what to do with this channel. I think I would like to make it a conversational channel in front of the webcam type channel where I entertain questions, where we have discussions about different things, and video responses back and forth on topics of the day, topics of before. Today there's a special reason that I'm putting this up here, because I want to make sure that we can avoid some of the pitfalls of the past. May 4th today. May 4th is once again, if you watched my other channel, you know. If you didn't, it's the anniversary of the Kent State Massacre back in 1970. Now, I wasn't very old in 1970, but I remember in the late 60s the riots, race riots, and then on into the demonstrations against the Vietnam War. And what was happening was our president announced that we were going to make an offensive into Cambodia. And the students at Kent State demonstrated. And the mayor and the governor called in the National Guard. 4 students were killed. Some people say 9, but the official reports were 8. Others were wounded. I watched a video today on one of the survivors had put out. His video said 9. Others were wounded. He was there. I'm going to suspect that he's probably accurate. By all accounts, the National Guard soldiers were by far better armed than the students. There were many hundred students, and not nearly as many National Guard. If the students had wanted to be violent, they could have overrun the National Guard soldiers without any problem at all. But they didn't. They did throw some rocks. From my experience, I know you can back away from a rock and not have to shoot somebody with a .30-06. National Guard soldiers wear the same uniform that I wore when I was in the Army. They say United States Army. We used to say Uncle Sam ain't released me yet. That makes it a federal troop. And if it's a federal troop that's being used on civilians, then that violates posse comitatus. It's against the law. You can't do that. I do realize that Abraham Lincoln used the National Guard. And then eventually he used federal troops against civilians. I do realize that a fellow named George Washington did the same thing during the Whiskey Rebellion. It was interesting that he was enforcing a tax on whiskey with troops, which is what we had just fought a revolution against, taxation. And there's some irony there, guys. You just fight a war and free yourself from what they called tyranny from Great Britain, and turn around and have a very similar situation right here in Kentucky. So we look back and we try to look at the past, and somehow or another in our looking at the past we want to avoid the same pitfalls again. Perhaps from our side, realizing where the government is today, or at least the way some of us see the government today, it might be well not to gather in huge groups and march on a government building, you might get shot. Something to think about very seriously. The fact that we can no longer view terrorists and certain religions around this country as, especially the radical members of certain religions, as a threat to our country, because the president has just declared that it's not true. Well, once again, I spent time overseas in the military, and I know several of you have. You got to realize that when you're in different countries, that they think differently than we think, and that's not out of the ordinary. So it stands to reason, if there are people out there of a certain ilk, and we recognize them as being of that certain ilk, that we should at least pay attention to them. Whether or not we're afraid of them is irrelevant, but the point is at least have the intelligence to respect the fact that they might act in an untoward direction. Wow, that was about as politically correct as I can make that statement without getting in trouble. Anyway, any topics that you want to talk about, by all means, we'll do it by means of video responses and other things. I'm really tickled to make this a kind of a public forum. I do have all the technical stuff on the other channel, but if there's a specific question you have here about the rocket stoves or guns or cars or trucks or equipment of any kind, because I've worked on almost everything. If I haven't worked on it, I probably have some experience with it one way or the other. I probably hurt myself on it, at least. By all means, let's bring it up. If I don't have an answer, I'm sure that one of my friends do. Okay? I hope that this is a video and not just a picture, because if it's a picture again, I'm going to be 2 for 2 today. Okay. Well, anyway, appreciate you finding this one here, and I'll put the word on my other channel, KB Bacon channel, that this is over here again, and we'll see if we can get this one going and have some fun over here. And really, that's why I got into YouTube in the first place, was to have some fun. It's worked out well. I've met a whole bunch of really great people out there, and had discussions with them, and whatnot. It's really been a great experience, and I hope to continue to do this. My son's wedding 2 weeks ago. I guess it was 2 weeks ago. Wow. The church where I performed the wedding asked me to be their pastor. Wow, that's a lot of work, and I've done that several times, and I'm going to turn it down. I'm going to turn it down because I'm not in a situation where I want somebody to tell me what I can and cannot say anymore. And quite frankly, when you're a pastor of an organization, the congregation wants to hear what it wants to hear. Not necessarily do they want to hear what you want to tell them or what you need to tell them. Sometimes they're not they're not receptive to that. Guess what? On here I can say what I want to say, and I don't have to worry about it, because it's my channel. It's our channel. That's the way I look at it. And if you don't like a particular video, hey, don't stop watching, because the next one's going to be different. Where I'm not going to continue to rant on and on and on about the same thing. Although, if you watch some of my videos, I probably get a little long-winded. It's just the way it is. Just the way it is. Anyway, thanks for watching, all 13 of you on this channel. It's been the wildest spring I've ever seen here in Missouri, and I've been here since 1987. Wow, it's cold, it's snowing, it's just plain nasty. And today I was up in my shop, and it was just, I fired up the heater, the stove, and I knocked the edge off, but I realized that it's so cold out there that the steel roof was sweating so fast, it was dripping on everything. I really couldn't do some of the things I wanted to do. Okay, well, all over the world and from here to there and wherever you are, Kevin Bacon. Sergeant Porcupine. Sergeant Porcupine because Porcupine, to me, is approached with caution. And if you knew me when I was a staff sergeant in the Army, you would realize that it was definitely an approach with caution situation. I could be pretty ornery. Fortunately, I think I've mellowed out, but I don't have the same job anymore. And given the same job and the responsibilities that I had at the time, I still might be just as ornery, because I think it was very important that people know sometimes that it's important to have some sense of purpose in life. Okay? Well, anyway, bye for now.